All right,
Oh,
we're good
and
to
pay
go.
attention. Oh, sorry. Last thing.
No,
I'll cut
no,
this
go ahead.
out. Pay attention. I will text you stuff through Slack on my computer
Okay.
if I have
Let me
comments
get
that I don't
a
want to just talk about.
separate tab out here.
Yeah,
And
I'll cut this part
I'm
out.
sure I'm sure there's gonna be you can just cut this. I'm sure there's gonna be parts where we might need like stats to back up what the hell we're saying, Graz. So that's where
Yeah,
you come in.
yeah.
To make sure we're not complete idiots, only
That's a
somewhat
yeah.
idiots. Okay, I'll start. Welcome to the Eephus, episode 38. I'm your host, Justin Ledger. I'm here with Zach Hummel, and we got Graz back, producer Graz back this week. What's going on, guys?
Nothing much, man. If the audio is better, it's because I just bought a mic. So props to Amazon.
Yeah, about damn time.
Broken me up.
We had some technical
Yeah.
difficulties last week, so this is going to be a big improvement, I think, quality wise, after last week. So I'm happy about that. Graz, what do you think about it over there?
I'm loving this quality. You guys are really making a professional, system setup going right now. I'm really proud of you. And you didn't even get it on Amazon Prime Day.
Yeah, didn't even have to
know.
get it on Amazon Prime Day, Zach. So you cheated the system there. So let's get into favorite stories. It's August 21st, so we're talking about everything from the past week here. Favorite stories, I'll start. Giancarlo Stanton, I think, is far and away the story of the week. He's suddenly on pace for 60 home runs. He hit another one, his 45th yesterday. So Stanton on an absolute roll. I'm tweeting after each Stanton homer, just chill out, Stanton, because the guy is just on another planet right now. So while Aaron Judge, who we'll get to later, is struggling mightily, Giancarlo Stanton is far and away the home run king this season.
Have you seen his stance lately?
Stanton's?
Yeah, he's so closed off in his stance now. It's insane. I think since he's made that adjustment, he's hit like so many more home runs. I just think it's a little tweak in his stance, and it's now. It's insane.
It's working. It's fucking working. So yeah, what was your favorite story of the week?
My favorite story, I think this happened about a week ago. I think it was the Jimmy Fund. So some kid with cancer was throwing out a first pitch at the Red Sox game. Kid said he was a high school pitcher, goes wide right. First pitch fiascos I've ever seen. And it was funny because the guy had and you could see the ball coming to him, and he didn't even put a hand to block. It just went straight and hit him right in the nuts.
Yeah, you just saw it coming from a mile away, and once that ball started approaching him closer and closer, you knew something bad was about to happen. The reaction made it so worth. Like, I must have watched that clip at least 100 times. No, that's not even an exaggeration. I watched it over and over again and just laughed. Just seeing the guy go, just reach down there, you knew it hit him right in the sweet spot too. So that was probably the highlight of the week for sure. Graz, do you got anything?
I got something coming straight. It's more of a statistic, but I wanted to share it with you guys. Here's your old-timey baseball statistic of the week. Did you know that Babe Ruth actually pitched 5 games for the New York Yankees? He struck out over 21 batters in that, through 2 complete games, and won all 5 games. That's what I found out.
Stat of the week from Graz. I love it. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to get into some injuries. We got injuries to a lot of starting pitchers this past week. Some are going to make an impact come postseason, some probably not. Actually, I think 3 of these 4 are going to make an impact. So we're going to take it to Dr. Tom here. Dr. Tom is going to come in here and let us know what's going on with these starting pitchers. Are they going to be back anytime soon? Are there going to be nagging injuries that are going to affect their teams in the postseason? So here's Dr. Tom. So cut this from here on, Graz, right here. Tom just texted me back, and he said that we just got to wait like a few minutes, I think. So what we're going to do, I think we should anyways skip injuries for now, get straight into news, and then do it like we would normally do it. Once Tom says he can do it, get him in here.
All right, you should do it. Do that whole setup for injuries again. I'll cut this whole part out and just do news first and then go into injuries with Dr. Tom.
Perfect. Okay, sounds good. All right, so news from the past week. Let's start with Rafael Devers. Devers, first off, I want to talk about his triple play. We all know the guy can hit by now. The guy can hit 400,000 feet, it seems like. Every single time he makes contact with the ball, it's long gone. Not just over the fence, like long gone. So Devers, while we know he can do that, he also turned a triple play this past week, and I'm interested to hear your opinions on it. So triple plays, are they impressive? First off, are they worth all the hype? I want to know your thoughts before I get into this.
I think it was blown out of proportion a little bit. I mean, it was pretty much, if you can have a tailor-made triple play, it was pretty much tailor-made. It was hit right to him, step on third, right to second, right to first. I mean, his bat has been unbelievable. His power to all fields has been the real standout item. The triple play was almost icing on the cake because he's been taking heat for his defense, which he's deserved. But it was nice to see him make a good play out on the field so people could kind of stick it to guys like Tony Maz who were saying his defense is subpar.
Yeah, but at the same time, the ball was hit right to him, and all he had to do was just step on the bag, throw it to second. From his end, it was kind of routine. I get triple plays are rare and everything. I just think it's just annoying to me how if there's a triple play, like for example, Dave O'Brien was freaking out. He was like, this is what happens when you come to the ballpark. You never know what you're gonna see. Dude, it was a routine play. It was a grounder right to third base. You just happened to be near third base when it happened and threw it to second like he should have. So while I get like triple plays rare, don't get me wrong, it's cool to see that it happened, but it wasn't this miraculous play. I'd rather see Devers hit a 440-foot homer than turn a triple play. That's my thoughts on it. We were all making fun of it at work at CSN because I don't know if you know who Adam Jones is. He's
the Dark Knight.
Yeah, he's just a radio guy in Boston, and he was just yelling like sarcastically, "Woo! Triple play! Woo!" Like because that's how people were acting. Like it was the best thing that's happened since 1918. Like I don't know. That's my little rant on Rafael Devers turning a triple play. I say who cares to that, but the guy has been an absolute stud since coming up from AAA.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I agree with you. Like once his stock was rising so high, anything he did would have been blown out and just saying it's the most ridiculous thing ever. So the triple play was nice, but his bat's been the real standout item there.
Definitely. One bat that has not been a standout item lately, it was in the first half, not lately, is Aaron Judge. Graz, get it. You need to pipe in with some takes here. What's going on with your boy Aaron Judge? 37 straight games with a strikeout. What is happening?
Okay, one, the strikeout statistic is the most overused statistic on the entire baseball world right now. The guy was striking out all the time, even when he was hitting. We just ignored it when he was hitting 330.
Okay.
Secondary comment, the problem is that the hole in his swing in the outside part of the plate, which we worried about last year, is grown a little bit. And it's not anything he's doing wrong. He hasn't messed up his swing. It's just pitchers are learning how to pitch to a guy that is that big. They go high and tight and then go low and away, and he kind of gets handcuffed. And thirdly, I'm going to finish it off with a scary stat. With qualifying players, which there are 178 since the All-Star break, he is 175 in batting average out of 178.
That is not good, Graz. That is not
good.
That
is not a statistic on a person that I thought ran away with the MVP.
Is he even the Rookie of the Year anymore?
He's definitely the Rookie of the Year. He's absolutely. I don't care. Benintendi might be cute and look fancy with his nice hair, but if you told me that Judge was going to hit 270 this year and have over 40 home runs and over 100 RBIs, I would have told you you're lying to me. So he's still the MVP. I mean, Rookie of the Year.
You
MVP.
seem a little too confident, Graz.
You can't ignore, even though because he's not done anything lately, the whole season. If you look at the whole season as a whole, he's still the best rookie out there.
Zach, thoughts?
I mean, I'm an Aaron Judge hater, so I'd have to. I think this is a discussion now. I mean, over the weekend, I watched every at bat he had, and he looks,
bad.
For lack of a better term, lost. Like
Yep.
he's missing pitches that before he was driving to right field over the wall, and now he's just taking lazy swings. So I think pitchers are starting to figure it out. And I think they said on the telecast that the Red Sox might have been the first team to actually sort of have a strategy to pitching him, and the rest of the league is taking notes. So leave it to the Red Sox to, hyper analyze a player's weaknesses. Yeah.
Well, you need to. I get not getting it for the first half of the year because he was new. No one had the scouting report wasn't really out on him yet. I know he played a little bit last year, but he wasn't feared even close to as much as he was this season, obviously. So come the second half of the season, teams have plenty of time to figure shit out with Aaron Judge. So I think my take on Judge when it comes to Rookie of the Year, I get where you're coming from, Graz. He was awesome in the first half. That cannot be ignored. He was far and away not only Rookie of the Year, he was the best player of the first half, bar none. However, it is a what have you done for me lately league when it comes to awards. We saw that last year. I know Michael Fulmer won Rookie of the Year because of his body of work, but Gary Sanchez was nipping on his heels after playing only, probably a month and a half? So now Aaron Judge is playing this bad, and you got Benintendi playing out of his mind. You got Devers, who I don't think is going to win it, but he's going, come the end of the season, he's going to have a case. So it's not looking good for your boy. If he can figure out in September, I think he runs away with the award. But if he keeps this pace up for the remainder of the season, you're in trouble.
See, you guys are worried about this award because you're coming from the Red Sox land of, can Benintendi win it? With the big debate in New York, and what I want to bring to you guys and see what you guys think about this is, what do you do? Because do you drop him in the lineup? Because he's still hitting third, batting 168. Yes, and that's what the big talk down here is about.
Yeah.
Do you drop him? Will it shake his confidence?
No, I think his confidence already shook. I mean, when you're batting 170, whatever the fuck you're batting, something's wrong. It has to be fixed. And I think there's a lot less pressure if you're moved from third to seventh in the lineup. The Yankees are in a wild card race right now. They can't afford to have a guy hitting that third, fourth in their lineup. It's pretty much as simple as that. But Zach, as an Aaron Judge hater, do you think he should be moved down to the lineup?
I think they leave him where he is. I don't think he'll figure it out just because he's that talented. I am a hater, but I just think it's stupid and a reactionary move to move him down the order off a couple series worth of at bats.
It's been like a month though of just shit terrible since the second half.
Who are you moving up? Who are you moving up then? Chase Headley? I don't know who you move up.
Where does I don't really know the Yankees lineup order off the top of my head, Graz. So who's batting behind Judge?
That's the thing. So it was Matt Holliday's hurt, and that's who's supposed to be behind him, and he's been playing terrible. So the lineup that's worked to try to split up lefties is they've put Didi behind him, and then they put Sanchez at the 5 hole. So you probably move up. Yeah, the idea would be to move up Didi to the 3rd hole, drop Judge to 5, and then have El Gary the Kraken bat 4th.
That I think makes a lot more sense than putting Judge 3rd. At this point, 3rd is supposed to be your best hitter, overall hitter. I think as of right this second, Didi or Sanchez needs to be there. Sanchez is another guy who's been playing very well lately. So that pretty much wraps up Judge. 37 straight games with a strikeout. Let's see if he makes it 38 by the time this podcast is posted. Let's get back to Stanton for a second. So Giancarlo Stanton, as we mentioned, 45 homers, on pace for 60 to end the season. Roger Maris, of course, has that 62, which is the mark. I think that's what Stanton's trying to break. I think Stanton came out and he had a statement saying that that's the real home run record, which is interesting. That's an interesting take. Kind of shows what he thinks about guys like Bonds, guys like Ruth, who I don't know. I don't really know where Stanton's coming from with this take, but nonetheless, 62 is the mark that he wants to break. I think, Zach, you said 55 is what he'll end with. I said 57. Has your opinion changed in the past week?
Not really. I'll stand pat to 55. Obviously he's on pace to hit more, but I thought it was interesting. Like you said, Stanton came out and pretty much denounced Barry Bonds, Sosa, and McGuire, thinking they're all on steroids. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting based on he's putting the Roger Maris number in his head and he's just putting asterisks next to everyone else.
Yeah, very interesting. Stanton. So I said he's going to get to 57. I still believe that too. He has cooled off in the past week a little bit by his standards because the week before he was playing ridiculous baseball. So yeah, I think he'll get to 57. So that's the homer thing. We all know he's hitting a million homers. The other interesting story coming from Stanton this week is the trade rumors. Now, we know with waivers, it's still possible for players to be traded. Pretty much every big player gets put on waivers come August, just because it enables teams to still work trades out. I don't know really the semantics behind that, but I do know that it's possible. We've seen plenty of trades already in this August. So the trade rumors, does Stan get traded before the season's over?
Yeah, I don't think he does. I think he'll get traded in the offseason if that, but I think teams just don't want to, give up what they'll have to give up to get him at this point in the season.
I agree. I think he gets moved in the winter. I do think he gets traded, but not before the end of the season. The other thing on Stanton, we're both Red Sox fans. We have a voicemail here. It's basically asking Giancarlo Stanton to the Red Sox, who would you give up on the Sox? Who is untradeable? So play the voicemail. All right. So you heard the voicemail. Giancarlo Stanton to the Sox. Who are you giving up if you're Boston?
Yeah, so I'm open to trading Bogarts and Bradley. I know Betts has been struggling, but I gotta keep Betts and gotta keep Devers and Benintendi. So I would put a package together of Bradley, Bogarts, and then maybe Groom or another pitcher. I think the Marlins are interested in pitchers rather than hitters at this point because they lost Jose Fernandez. Obviously, they don't really have anyone else. They have a decent lineup already, so I don't think that gets it done. But I'm not really willing to part with Devers or Benintendi, and I think the Marlins would want one of those two guys in a deal.
Yep, I don't see how this move makes any sort of sense for Boston. I completely get needing a bat in the middle of the lineup. You need a bat, but Giancarlo Stanton, I think the asking price is going to be far too high. You're going to have to give away either Benintendi or Devers, most likely. I know, the caller's saying that he would give up Benintendi. I wouldn't. No, there's no chance. Benintendi or Devers, they're both untouchable. I wouldn't even give up JBJ, I don't think, in a package. Obviously, when you're comparing player to player, Giancarlo Stanton's clearly the superior player. But in a package, I'm not giving up JBJ. His glove is far too valuable out in center field. He's going to hit you 270 each season. That's good enough when you have that good of a glove. We see how valuable guys like Kevin Kiermaier, guys like Kevin Pillar are to their teams. They're not going to do it all the time with the bat, but with the glove, when you're making essentially game-saving plays out there in center field sometimes, you got to weigh the two things. Stanton isn't exactly the best outfielder in the world. I know he could DH if he comes to Boston, but I just think the whole thing's a mess. I want no part of trading any pieces for Stanton. The Red Sox can do it without him. That's what it comes down to. That's the way I look at it. You got anything else on that?
No, I'll ask Graz. Are the Yankees suitors for Stanton? If so, would you want him?
The only reason the Yankees are in that conversation is because they have the money to pay Stanton, but they're in no way interested. They're set up for the outfield. And you guys are forgetting about the most important thing is that Bryce Harper is a free agent and does not want to stay in Washington.
He's going to end up.
And that's a big Red Sox Yankee thing that's going to happen.
Harper's going to end up in different pinstripes. He's going to end up playing at Wrigley Field. That's exactly what's going to happen. The piece, like Chris Bryant's best friends with the guy. Bryce Harper's dog's name is Wrigley. It's all set up for Harper to go to the Cubs, which is a very scary.
He'll have to cut his hair and his beard too if he goes to the Yankees.
Which I don't think that's
his thing. That might be a deal breaker.
It honestly might be.
I have multiple friends that don't want him to go solely for that reason. Like that aren't like casual baseball fans that are like, I like Bryce Harper because of his ridiculous hair. If he comes to the Yankees, he can't have that. He better go to like a ridiculous team.
I'll tell you what, Harper loses a lot of his appeal if he cuts that beard and hair. He's not really the same guy anymore at all. I know that's kind of a weird thing to say because, obviously he's going to continue to be an outstanding player, but a lot of his appeal is his flashiness. And when he goes to the Yankees, he loses all of that. We saw with Clint Frazier He had to cut his luscious red locks, and now he suddenly doesn't have the same appeal either. I know he's a good player and everything, that's fine, but he's not as cool as he was before that. So that's the way I've looked at it. What are your thoughts, by the way, because we were talking about Players Weekend last week, I think, Roz. What are your thoughts on some of the Yankees nicknames, like Red Thunder for Clint Frazier?
Clint Frazier doesn't like that nickname. He wrote it down just because he had to.
Then why is it on his Players Weekend jersey?
He just wrote it down because he like had to thought he had to do a nickname, but like he's talked about how much he doesn't actually like that nickname.
That's unfortunate for him that he has to wear it then.
Coming from a red-haired person, we don't like. Most of us don't like nickname with red hair in it.
The fact that I didn't even put 2 and 2 together. Like Zach is our token ginger. Like he's just if there's any ginger takes, he's piping in. Like he's got a take ready to go.
Yeah, I gotta get my take in there for my boy Frazier.
Zach, I have to ask you a question then.
Yeah. I think I know what this is gonna be.
No. New nickname for Clint Frazier. I've been throwing around. My friend group likes it. I'm trying to get it. The Human Torch. Like Fantastic Four.
I like that.
Because he's fast. He's fun.
Yeah.
Good.
I like that.
It has the support of gingers everywhere now because Zach's in. So that's all I wanted.
Yeah, it's got my sign approval.
Was the question you thought he was going to ask is, do gingers have souls?
Yeah, I thought Graz was going to be this low-hanging New York scumbag. But you surprised me, Graz. You surprised me. I got to
I am romantically entangled with a ginger, so I'm not going to be mean about it.
Whoa, right. Okay.
Okay, Graz, get all
what you get on this. This is what happens when I come back. This is what happens. The show goes off the rails. I have to edit most of this out anyway. I'm not going to get fired.
This is staying in. So anyways, oh, by the way, the other part of that voicemail asking how the whole waiver thing works in August. I don't fucking know. The guys get put on waivers and then
read a book, dude.
Look it up.
The internet, dude.
Yeah, just look it up. This World Wide Web. Ever heard of it? So Jared Weaver, guy throws like 70. He's retired. All right, so that's Jared Weaver. Should baseball get an automated strike zone? This was a big topic of the past week because Rob Manfred, the commissioner of baseball, pretty much shut down the idea, at least for the foreseeable future. He said the technology isn't there yet. This kind of comes at the heels of Ben Zobrist. I don't know if you guys saw this call, the Ben Zobrist call, the strike 3 to end the game for the Cubs this past week, but it pretty much bounced off the plate and Zobrist checked swing, but it wasn't even close to going across the plane of the plate. And he was called out, strike 3 to end the game in a tight situation, I'm pretty sure. So this sparked this whole conversation. There should be an automated strike zone, blah, blah, blah. Manfred says, no, technology is not ready. What do you guys think? Automated strike zone, does it have your vote to replace a home plate umpire?
I'm totally against the automated strike zone, but to replace it, I think the umpire should be taking more accountability for, screwing up. Like you talk about the Zobrist call. Zobrist freaked out, and he's not a guy that really freaks out. So for him to feel that way, I mean, some of the outrageous calls every game I see, like let's use the Yankees-Red Sox game yesterday, for example. Porcello and Sonny Gray, they were being squeezed. That umpire was terrible.
He was really bad, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like every game the umpire is either way too lenient or way too strict. And you see with the reviews, they almost get every call wrong that's reviewed. So I don't think automated is the answer, but I think the umpires, whether it's training or, better off-season, umping games and stuff, I just think something needs to be done because I think the umpire is being worse this year than it has been the past couple of years.
It has been significantly bad this year. I've noticed that too. I don't think Manfred, one of the things he said was that umpires get it right 90% of the time. Well, when you look at it, 10% is too fucking high. I mean, 10%, you're supposed to get it right 100. If it's not being right 100% of the time or close to it, maybe 98, I mean, you can allow a little bit of human error there. If it's not right that much, you have a problem. I mean, we've seen it this season. And we're going to get to this in a second, but if umpires don't want to be yelled at, don't suck. I mean, it's really that simple. And if they're going to suck that bad, for players and coaches to yell at them constantly, then there needs to be some change. That's pretty much what it comes down to. But if Manfred, the commissioner of baseball, doesn't think that baseball's ready for an automated strike zone because the technology is not ready, I believe him. I mean, why would he say that if he didn't actually believe it?
That's the thing. Like, if anything's going to be automated, it's going to be the strike zone, because you can't challenge balls and strikes. You can challenge at least any other shitty call, safe or out call the umpires make, but the strike zone's pretty much up to the umpire. And the fact that every umpire has, I mean, it's been documented, a different strike zone. These players and coaches just want consistency, and that doesn't lend itself to consistency when everyone's different in the way they call games.
Yeah, I've always liked the element of human error. But when human error is happening this often, it's an issue. I say don't rush to get an automated strike zone just yet. Try to work it out. Maybe just hire better umpires. I don't know. Do what you have to do to keep the human element in. If it continues to suck, you got to at least consider robot umps. That's the way I look at it. I know the idea of change is not welcome usually in baseball. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And when the quality of the game is taking a hit, sometimes you got to adjust. So that's that. The other thing, like I said, I wanted to touch on quickly. Ian Kinsler freaked out at an umpire for a shitty call, and umpires began wearing armbands to protest players yelling at them. They dropped the protest, I think, yesterday because Rob Manfred agreed to meet with them, but they were wearing white armbands. This comes a week or two after Joe West criticized Adrian Beltre and got suspended. So I don't know what the fuck's going on with the umpires. They suddenly think umpire lives matter, apparently. Like, that's what we're looking at here. So what are your thoughts on these butthurt umps?
Yeah, the fact that they did it so, like, under the cuff too, like no one really knew what was going on, and then someone broke the story is even more, like, it's so passive aggressive on the umpire's part. Like, they were just doing it in solidarity with each other, and they didn't care if anyone else knew. But I agree with you. Like, these umpires are so butthurt. I mean, I hate Ian Kinsler more than the next guy, but the fact that these umpires are like crying foul when some guy argues a call, it's blasphemous. And I feel like umps have been quicker with the tossing guys this year as well. And anytime an umpire, like, a player can tell you, respectfully, I disagree, but the umpires seem to be sort of dragging the players into these arguments too, which is, I think that's real stupid on their part.
I couldn't agree more. I hate everything about this protest. It's just the umpires doing more of this look at me shit, thinking that they're the center of attention at all times, which is so untrue. That's the umps. The umps are making way too many headlines this season, it seems like. So that pretty much wraps up the news from the week, though. A lot of shit went on that I mean, you don't even notice it as it's happening, but this was actually a pretty busy week. All right, so cut this, Graz. I am about to invite Tom.
Cool.
I'll break down to him what I'm going to talk about, and then we'll get right into it.
So the Human Torch. I'm in on the Human Torch. Just totally in on it.
Human Torch. I don't mind that. I
I like that.
he had another one other than Red Thunder.
I don't know, but his girlfriend's the hottest woman I've ever seen.
Clint
Check
Frazier's?
Instagram out. Yeah.
All right. Well, I might have to check that out in a second.
That's a decent Instagram follow.
Clint Frazier girlfriend. My expectations weren't high because it's Clint Frazier. But I guess when you're a Major League Baseball player, that's what happens. What's up, Tom?
How's it going?
Before we get into this part's not going to be in the podcast. What are your thoughts on Clint Frazier's nickname, Red Thunder?
I mean, it's pretty accurate.
I'm telling you, Human Torch. It's a much better nickname. I'm in.
Yeah.
No, we're not. That's not. No, Red Thunder is more unique.
This part should be actually in the podcast. You should probably just insert this in there somewhere, Gross. 2 Yankee fans arguing about what Clint Frazier's nickname.
2 Neanderthal Yankee fans.
Yes,
that's a lot of wow. We'll be able to argue this in heaven though, so just remember that.
All
right. Dr. Tom, I am gonna tell you what we're gonna talk about. So
Okay.
Max Scherzer, 10-day DL. He's got like a neck injury. He's apparently slept on the wrong side of his neck. I don't know how you do that, but he did it.
Oh, you do it. You know what
all
it's called, right?
No.
Acute torticollis.
Oh, please say that. Please say that in the thing.
That's
right.
That's big. We'll get the medical community in.
Yeah. John Lester, 10-day DL, left lat soreness, shoulder fatigue. Kind of sounds like a pussy. Adam Wainwright, elbow shit, but it's platelet-rich plasma injection. That does not
PRP.
sound good. Yeah, PRP.
I mean, they're just taking his blood, pretty much using a centrifuge to spin all the plasma out of it.
You'll bring that up.
A little blood spinning. That never hurt anyone.
Yeah.
Remember Kobe Bryant had that?
Yeah, they make it.
They just start spinning his blood.
Platelet-rich plasma injection sounds like he's being turned into an alien. Like that's what I think about.
Probably exactly.
That's how we won 7 Tour de France's too. Remember?
All right, and then Aroldis
America.
Oh, actually no. Yu Darvish, 10-day DL. It literally every article I looked at just said he has lingering back issues. Like that was the diagnosis, just lingering back issues. So
yeah, they made it seem like he's had back issues his whole career, and it's just like now he's going to the DL for it.
Yeah, it's just his back hurts. So, and then Aroldis Chapman. Since you and Graz are both Yankee fans, we could have a nice little discussion on Aroldis Chapman. Whether you think there's a little injury there, and you guys can talk about how much he sucks. So, I'll do a little intro, Tom, and then we'll get into it.
Okay.
All right, sound the alarms. It's Dr. Tom in the house. We're going to talk injuries. We got injuries to 4 starting pitchers, 4 notable starting pitchers, all in the past week. They all got put on the DL, the 10-day DL. Let's start with the big one here, Max Scherzer. Now, Dr. Tom, he was put on the 10-day DL with a nagging neck injury. He apparently slept on the wrong side of his neck. I don't know if it was a week or 2 ago, but that's what happened. He came back from the injury before, pitched a couple games. Now it's bothering him again. Just this nagging neck injury. Now, Tom, we roomed together at school. I don't know if you remember this. I could move my neck at one point. Do you remember that? That brief stint where I literally couldn't. We played catch, and I couldn't move my neck after. Don't know if you'd remember that, but that's what happened while we roomed together. So you have some experience rooming with someone who might have had the same injury. So you should be the expert on this injury. Nagging neck injury, slept on the wrong side of the neck. What do you do about this?
Well, medical terminology. It's called acute torticollis.
Can you spell that?
I could, but I'm not going to risk spelling it incorrectly.
Okay.
So
smart.
What it is basically you're just sleep in a position where one part of your neck, the muscles either tighten or stretch, so they're in the spasm or whatever, and you can't move your neck because your muscles are stuck like that pretty much. So it takes a couple of days, at least a week, usually to get back into full action. Especially if
10-day DL makes sense then in that case.
Yeah.
So what is it called? Acute torticollis?
Torticollis.
Acute torticollis.
Yes.
I feel like I have this injury every morning I wake up.
It's a pretty common injury.
You know what you should do? The new thing should be to email or call into your work sick with acute torticollis, because I think we all have it sometimes when we wake up in the morning.
I mean, until they look it up and say, oh, well, this person's got a stiff neck.
Right. So maybe they won't look it up, and you'll have a significant injury in their eyes. So that's Scherzer. What's your timetable on this? When do you think he'll be back in full force?
I mean, 10 days is probably a good timetable.
Okay.
Might push him 14 because Scherzer's probably one of the better people in
Right. You think
MLB.
they're going to be
Caution.
looking at this more, precautionary, trying to take some time because the Nationals already got that division. So they're just going to make sure Max Scherzer is 110% for the postseason, pretty much.
Yeah, that's probably why the
Right. Now we have John Lester, 10-day DL, left lat soreness and shoulder fatigue. Now, when a pitcher, as we've mentioned plenty of times already, has shoulder fatigue, that never sounds good. What is your outlook on John Lester, who has really not been himself this season? By the way, he's been pretty bad for the Cubs. Big reason why they haven't been able to go on the same path they were on last season.
Right.
So left lat soreness, shoulder fatigues. Another thing that sounds like it would just nag a player. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, he's been known as a workhorse pretty much his entire career. If he's just kind of getting to that point in his career where he can't do what he thinks he can do, you get that soreness and tightness, and he tries to keep working through it. You saw that last year or the year before with Aroldis Chapman, where
Right.
he just kept going, even didn't tell the Yankees what was going on.
Not the greatest idea.
Yeah, so I mean, this might have been going on for a while, and he thought he was just going to get better. He just didn't get enough rest. Team's probably just taking a little precaution to shut him down altogether.
What is your panic meter at if you're a Cubs fan?
I would say it's out of a 10. It's probably like a 3 or 4 because it bothered him enough to take him out of the rotation. But it's not. I mean, it's fatigue, so they're not saying it's anything specific.
Right.
It might just be that he's not performing up to his standards, so they want to give him a rest to try to calm himself.
Got you.
That could be part of it too.
So now we got Wainwright, another guy who really hasn't been himself. We're so used to Wainwright being one of the better pitchers in the National League. He's been anything but that pretty much the past couple seasons. He got a PRP injection, platelet-rich plasma injection, which to me sounds like he's just being injected with alien fluid. I don't know what platelet-rich plasma is, what a PRP injection is. What's going on with Wainwright right now?
So that injection, if there's like inflammation or like some sort of damage done in that area, you said it was his elbow?
Correct.
Yeah, I mean some of those places like the ligament and stuff don't get too much blood. Obviously there's a good blood supply to the arm, but what platelet PRP is they take your own blood out, they spin it in what's called a centrifuge, so that separates everything together, and they take one of the things from that blood and then they inject it back into that spot, which just promotes blood flow and healing. It's just pretty much giving your blood an extra boost of.
So how helpful is this in getting Wainwright back to, I guess, for his standards at this point, 100%?
It's kind of a 50-50 procedure, to be honest, from what I've heard. Working with doctors and people that have done it, again, it's like a hit or miss. Obviously, if you have the ability to do it and the money to do it, people will try it. So I think this is a just kind of a preventative thing to see if it helps whatever's going on with him.
Got it.
Is this legal, Dr. Tom?
Oh,
this sounds pretty sketchy. Is this legal?
It's 100% legal. I've seen regular day people do it plenty of times. Just people like you and me.
Just average Joes.
Average Joes.
Just a couple of average Joes. So, I mean, the Cardinals, they're right in the thick of things now in the NL wild card. I don't really know. I know Zach is not a very big Adam Wainwright guy, so you probably think, Zach, that it's not going to affect the Cardinals' chances very much of making the playoffs. But as a whole, what do you guys think about this injury? Zach, I already know your opinion. Graz and Tom, do you think this affects the Cardinals' chance?
I mean, I think it could. It's all dependent on how he feels after. So yeah. I don't want to speculate how he's going to feel after because I don't know how his body's going to respond to it. True. Obviously, if he comes back and he helps and whatever, great. It's going to help him. But if it does nothing, it's definitely going to affect their chance because there's obviously something wrong with his elbow that he needs to do that.
Right. I think Luke Weaver, whoever that is replacing him, and that doesn't sound very promising. I don't know who that is, but it doesn't sound promising that a no name is replacing Adam Wainwright. At least on paper, it doesn't sound right. Graz, what do you think about it?
It doesn't sound good. And the thing is with Wainwright is he's the face of the Cardinals. He's like their guy. And it doesn't matter how well he's pitching or
That's the way
something.
I look at it too. Yeah.
Every 5 days, Wainwright's going to go out there and, he's going to give it, a good solid 5, 6, sometimes 7 innings now later in his career. But he's won so many big games for them over the years. And pretty much if they even want to win, they're kind of in the division. They're mostly in the wild card. But he's got to be there. He's got to come back and be strong. Even if he's not pitching well, he's just got to be around and be that guy where they can count on him to eat innings and help that bullpen and the other, when other starters maybe aren't as good.
Yeah, I agree with that take, actually. Okay, so lastly here, Chapman. Nothing has been said about him being injured, but we got 2 Yankee fans here, Dr. Tom and Graz. I want to talk to you guys. Do you think the reason he's sucked, he's been removed from the closer role, at least for the foreseeable future by Joe Girardi, has straight up just been like, I'm just going to put him wherever I want to put him. It looks like Betances is going to take over as the closer, him and Robertson for now. But Chapman has had a really rough couple weeks. Is he hurt? Do you think he's hurt?
I would say, from what I saw, there was one time, maybe a week or so ago, he was trying to cover first base to end the save, and he kind of came up lame a little bit.
Okay.
Hamstring stuff is what it looked like, and that just kind of lingers. I don't know if he would be hurt, but it might just be aggravating him to where it's bothering him.
Do you think it's something that's so significant where it can bother him this much? Because, I mean, Chapman, he earned what's he getting paid? $86 million over 5 years or something like that?
Yeah, like 5, I think.
So, I mean, he's an elite closer. He's supposed to be an elite closer. And now he's a run-of-the-mill reliever all of a sudden. So do you think it's more a mental thing for Chapman? Or do you think, because a lot of people are arguing that Joe Madden, obviously manager for the Cubs, screwed him up in the World Series the way he used them. So do you think it's more that, or do you think it's more physical?
I think it could be both, but right now, the way they're handling it, I think is more mental. If it was more physical, they'd just take him out altogether. Mentally, I think they just want to get him into different roles and see how he does during that stuff to kind of get his composure back before they put him back into those big situations again.
Graz, what are your thoughts?
Unfortunately, I think it's mental too, and I was really hoping that Dr. Tom here would tell me it's physical, and I'd feel better about myself going forward. But I didn't get what I wanted. It's cool, but it's the feeling of I used to be able to blow people away, and now like these younger guys that came up with all these hard throwers are throwing, be able to turn around those fastballs. And I know I talk about it, and I think Devers is overrated just because I hate the Red Sox, not on any factual evidence whatsoever. But anytime you get to throw 103.5 miles an hour and that ball ends up in the seats, that scars you a little bit. That gets in your head.
Devers is
and I don't know how you recover.
Inhuman, though. No one else is going to do that. I don't care how unhealthy Chapman is. No one else turns around, especially lefties. No one else turns around 103.5 miles per hour fastball by Aroldis Chapman. It just doesn't happen. I don't think Devers would ever do that again, to be honest with you. I think there's some luck on his side there. So that's with Chapman. We're going to get into trades in a second, but since you guys, Tom, I want you to answer this one last thing. What are your thoughts on Curtis Granderson? He just got traded to the Dodgers, former Yankee. I want your thoughts on Granderson, both the guy and the player.
The guy himself he's all around great person. I think
everyone agrees with that. Even Red Sox fans, everybody.
Proved it time and time again where he takes every situation he can and puts a positive spin on it. I think he's a great person for ball club in the locker room. As a player, obviously he's getting up there with age.
Yeah, he's like 36 now. So.
But I think he's still a productive player and someone who could potentially help a team that's on the fringe or
the Dodgers are like 90-0.
But they're gonna help him. He's going to help him in the long run. He's going to provide something that maybe somebody else couldn't have, especially even if it's just in the locker room, just providing a positive attitude.
All right, Graz, what do you think about Granderson?
He is a great piece to an NL team who's already deep and needs a good bat off the bench in a clutch situation. There's not a lot of people I'd want to put in more than Curtis Granderson if I needed a clutch bat somewhere in the 7th inning in like the NLCS.
I just have that stupid Yankee announcer's voice in my head saying the Grandy Man can over and over again. That's every time I see Curtis Granderson, I think, he's a class act. I mean, any baseball fan or just fan of sports in general knows that, judging by all of his pressers, his post-game meetings with the media, everything. The guy is a class act. I think universally that's known. As a player, I didn't even hate him when he was on the Yankees. So that speaks volumes to the kind of guy that Curtis Granderson is, as if the Dodgers needed another player like that. I mean, really. I mean, they're really hurting right now. I think they're 41-6 in their last 47 games or something like that. It's absolutely insane. Those are rough numbers. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but they're insane.
Yeah, he's ring chasing at this point. He's never won a World Series, so I think.
And you know what? As long as the Dodgers don't choke like they usually do this season, I think this really could be the year. So on that note, Dr. Tom, thank you for joining us.
I have one more question for him.
Oh, okay.
Hold up. I have one more question. This is just off the presses now. Today, speaking of the Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw is pitching a simulated game. Dr. Tom, coming off that back injury that Kershaw has been suffering, is he going to come back strong? Because if he comes back strong, the Dodgers are going to win the World Series easily.
Before you get to that, Tom, postseason Clayton Kershaw is not the same guy. Let's just get that out of the way before we get any further. Tom, what are your thoughts?
I think if all goes well, obviously you're going to be cautious with him. Maybe having him keep his confidence up by going simulated game instead of right now going straight into like a minor league just in case something happens. I think it's a good sign. He's actually getting back in there, and I think they're going to take their time with him, especially since they're doing so well. I think that's a good thing for him, especially with back injuries. So you don't want to rush anything where he makes a pitch where he throws it a little too hard or he overthrows it and something tweaks his back again. I mean, I think having him in a controlled setting is only going to help him.
Got it. Until postseason, Kershaw comes along and lets up a homer to some guy who had a .220 batting average in the regular season and just owns him in the postseason. And the Dodgers choke in the NLCS, and then the Washington Nationals advance, and then probably win it all because Bryce Harper is going to be back in full force from that knee injury. And that's basically it, Tom. We will talk to you later.
All right. Thank you for having me.
All right. All right, so as always, thank you to Dr. Tom for joining us. Always a pleasure to have him on, give us some scientific knowledge of what the hell is going on, what platelet injections or whatever that is. It's always good to know that info. So we'll move on to segments, wrap things up here. Let's start with our top 5 favorite batting stances ever. Zach, you start.
All right, do you want me to just rattle them off?
We can go back and forth.
All right, so my number 5 it's going to be a oddball left field pick, but I actually love this batting stance. Mike Eephus, if you remember him from the Red Sox, I think he plays for the Indians now. I actually don't know what team he's on.
No, I don't think he's there anymore either. He gets moved around quite a lot. I don't even know if he has a major league team right now.
Yeah, he kind of has when he's up at the bat, he kind of swings the bat in a circle, and then it just like explodes. I don't know. I always liked it. It's kind of similar to my softball swing. So Mike Eephus has made my top 5. Crazy, probably the only top 5 he's ever made.
My number 5 is Jeff Bagwell. I just remember playing old video games. Like I think I was playing, maybe it was either Ken Griffey Jr. whatever the hell that game was, or All-Star Baseball, one of those. And I would always play with I would always use Jeff Bagwell. In his stance, his arms are just fully extended. His feet are pretty much crossed. Like, I don't really know how to explain it very well via podcast, but I could definitely act it out if I had some sort of video help here. But Jeff Bagwell, I would probably say is my number 5.
Yeah, that's a good one. Pride of Connecticut.
Yeah.
But my number 4 is Tony Batista.
Okay.
Just like an absurd stance, like actually facing the pitcher and like leaning over the plate with his feet square to the pitcher. I don't know how that guy ever got hits. the way that is. I think every kid tried that stance when Batista broke into the big leagues, but he's the only one to ever do it successfully. So Tony Batista is my number 4.
My number 4 is Luis Gonzalez. I think he's one of the most underrated hitters of all time, and he has one of the most underrated batting stances of all time. Luis Gonzalez from the Diamondbacks used to be one of my favorite players. A lefty. He had such an open stance. His bat was just on his shoulder, basically. Probably the most open stance I've ever seen, except for Tony Batista. So yeah, I would put Luis Gonzalez at number 4.
One of his teammates that didn't make my list is Craig Counsell. He had an awesome batting stance too. He wasn't that good of a hitter, but he had an awesome stance.
Craig Counsell was just a little much. That stance, I mean, it gets to the point where it's like, come on, man, really?
Yeah, how can you even swing when you're just like the bat's up at your like the sky? Like
maybe he would have been a better hitter if he wasn't such a hardo with his stance. So that's, I mean, he's definitely an honorable mention though. So number 3.
My number 3 is Nomar Garcia-Parra. I mean, the whole buildup, not just the stance itself, but the whole buildup of tapping his cleats and redoing his gloves. I mean, every kid playing wiffle ball in New England would just reenact that when they were playing. So I go Nomar, number 3.
I almost threw him on here, but the other ones that I have are just too good to take off. My number 3 is Ken Griffey Jr. I know a lot of it has to do with his swing, but don't sleep on that stance either. That it's very hard to explain, but everything's just very tight together. He's got like his hands like upright. Like I again, this is bad radio because I'm like acting it out, but I mean, his stance. There's a reason he has the best swing in the league. So I'm gonna go with Ken Griffey Jr. for the number 3 stance.
Yeah, I got him later on.
Okay.
So number 2, I have Gary Sheffield.
That's my number 2. That's my number 2 as well.
I think Sheffield like literally changed the stance game. He inspired a whole generation of baseball players to have similar stances to him. I mean, any kid that played wiffle ball ever had the Gary Sheffield stance. Like, if you didn't try Gary Sheffield and just try to nail the ball, I mean, you weren't even playing. So Sheffield's my number 2.
If you don't have a Gary Sheffield stance occasionally in wiffle ball, you don't play wiffle ball right, and you probably have never hit a wiffle ball home run in your life, because I think 95% of the Gary Sheffield swings that I've taken, or times that I've used his stance in wiffle ball, those were my home runs. Anytime I didn't use the Sheffield stance, it was not a home run. So Sheffield, you're right. He might even be number 1, actually, the more I think about it. He changed the stance game for sure.
Yeah, just unbelievable. So my number 1 was Griffey. I mean, everything you said, it was a swing, but also his stance, he's literally just standing there, like straight up and down he had that little shake that was going on too.
I'm trying to explain it, but there's no way to explain it. And just picturing it with the backwards hat too in the Derby tops everything off. So I think Griffey has to be up there.
It was just swagger. It was just swagger.
I originally had Griffey at 1, but Sheffield's is too legendary. And my number 1 is Tony Batista. You already talked about Tony Batista. That stance is outrageous. Not much more to talk about there. I mean, if you haven't seen the Tony Batista stance, look that one up. One of my honorable mentions is Fred McGriff. It's just a very unique stance, and the way he swings. I remember there was a specific option for him, and I think it was All-Star Baseball 99. You could either swing with one hand, it was the follow through with one hand, follow through with 2 hands, or do the helicopter, which is you let go with one hand and you go over your head like a helicopter, which is insane. It's an outrageous move. That's what Fred McGriff did. So he's an honorable mention.
I'm Googling Tony Batista, and his stance, he's literally square to the pitcher with the bat pointed at the pitcher, like not even ready to swing. Just unbelievable.
He's number 1, and usually I would say, like I said about Counsell, it's a little much, but it's so legendary, this Batista stance. I'm looking at it now too. It's so legendary. It needs to be up there. It's my number 1. So that's top 5 batting stances ever. Graz, who's your favorite batting stance of all time?
You guys missed 3 very important ones. I'll start from the worst to the best. Number 1 is you missed Derek Jeter, because everyone in New York tried to bat like Derek Jeter with your hand above your head.
Yeah, it's kind of like Garcia.
It's like what you grew up with.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The same thing. Number 2 for me is Ichiro with the pointing of the bat and
That's
the
a good
arm
one.
thing.
Yeah.
And then he runs at the ball because now you have all those kids in like softball and Little League Baseball trying to do the run at the ball to try to get down the first baseline faster. So he changed the game. And then a surprising pick, because you guys are talking about wiffle ball, which is my favorite activity ever.
Me too.
Over the best third baseman of our generation. And yeah, I said that. It's Evan Longoria's stance is perfect. He stands there, he steps in, and then hits dingers. And that's how my wiffle ball stance is.
You know what?
So.
I'm shocked by that because Evan Longoria is one of those guys who doesn't seem to get he comes in and it's like you said, he just walks in the batter's box, hits dingers, and then he just comes back to the ballpark next day, does the same thing. Very nonchalant. Not the guy I expected, but I like the respect given to Evan Longoria here because he's always been one of my favorite players.
Yeah. Another good one is Eephus too. I mean, just weird. Like sliding his hand up and down the bat like he's playing the piano or something.
Yeah, it's a great stance. I almost put that one on there, but I think while he was with the Red Sox, I was just so used to this fucking sun, dude.
Yeah, are you getting solar? Are you getting solar eclipse?
Dude, I'm literally. This is the eclipse.
It looks like a nuclear bomb's like heading your way.
Dude, who says you can't look straight into the eclipse? Look at this shit.
I know we're looking right into it.
All right, so that's the top 5 batting stances. This podcast has gone off the rails today. Let's move on to. I have to block the sun behind me because I mean it's just gonna shine in the fucking laptop. All right, I think we're good. Let's move on to dud of the week. To roll this Chapman.
Is that yours?
Yeah. Do you guys agree?
I would definitely agree with the Rollins Chapman, but I had this guy. I think he played Tuesday and he blew a save, and then he played Wednesday and he blew a save. So I wrote down early in the week. I said this guy's going to be my dud. Jake Patrica from the White Sox. He has a little bit of a smell of Matt Strahm. He has a smell of Matt Strahm on him.
What's his name?
Jake Patrica. He has a 16 ERA.
That's not good. All right, no. That's a good dud of the week. When you're hot, you're hot. This thing has gone off the rails. When you're hot, you're hot. I'm so distracted by the sun right now. I apologize that I'm sucking, but this sun is just a problem. When you're hot, you're hot. My pick is Nicky Delmonico of the Chicago White Sox. First off, shout out to Alex Delmonico, my neighbor, one of my really good friends. His little brother's name is Nick. So every time this guy steps up to the plate, Nicky Delmonico from the White Sox, I fucking laugh. But he's killed it this past week. He has 4 homers in the past week. He's slashing 353, 476 with a 1059 OPS the past week. No one knows who Nicky Delmonico is. And that's kind of what we usually try to do with When You're Hot, is have these under-the-radar guys who are standing out. They usually make this list. So that's my pick.
Yeah, he's a guy that no one even really thought about in the White Sox system. They're so loaded. Like, they have guys like Nicky Delmonico coming up and just mashing the ball. So yeah.
I don't know how long it's going to last for, but, I mean, for now.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Enjoy it while it happens.
Exactly. That's what When You're Hot's all about.
So my When You're Hot, this guy has not been getting enough love, I think, just in Major League Baseball as a whole. Gio Gonzalez from the Nats. I mean, if you look at this guy's stats, he's having one of the best years of his career. He's 2-0 this week with a 0 ERA. I mean, he's got to be in the conversation for Cy Young. What do you guys think? His numbers are outrageous.
You know what? I was reading something about him yesterday, and it popped in my head as well. Actually, I shouldn't even say I was reading something about him. I just saw a picture of him pop up on my Twitter. I was like, he's having a really good year. And, yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think he's one of ththese guys who just gets overshadowed because there's so many other good players in the National League, good pitchers. Clayton Kershaw being one of them. Obviously, he's hurt. But Gio Gonzalez for a long time, he's been that third starter on the Nationals, serviceable starter. Nothing to really write home about. I mean, he's always been good. He's never been great. This year, he's been great. So you're right. He deserves a lot more attention than what he's been getting, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's the third best pitcher on his team, arguably. So
yeah. Scherzer's hurt. Gio Gonzalez is going to fill in pretty well if everything, you know what I mean, if he keeps this pace up. So we'll see. On that note, we'll wrap it up there. Subscribe on iTunes. Leave a review. 5 stars. If it's a good one, we'll read it on the show. Follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. I think we're going to get that Instagram up and going this week. We're going to get it nice and active. And at Eephus Pod is where you can follow us there. And then throw us a like on Facebook on top of that. So, Zach, Graz, any final words?
No. You gotta stay away from that sun, man. It's coming right into your window.
Dude, I don't know. I have to shut these blinds. I'm gonna get blind from looking at the sun. You're not supposed to look at the eclipse, and that's exactly what I'm doing. So fucking scary. All right. We'll wrap it up there.